If you could actually have that conversation about a marriage contract and cohabitation agreement, that puts you way ahead of most couples.
Hey everyone, I'm Claudia, and this is Social Questions by Top Choice Awards. Today we're here with Angela Princewill, founding lawyer at AP Lawyers, Durham Region's top choice family law firm of 2025. Thank you so much for being with us today.
Oh, it's my pleasure, Claudia.
Nice to see you again.
Same.
What are some of the most misunderstood aspects of family law that you wish more people understood?
Oh my God, there's a lot, but I think I'll just restrict myself to three reasons, or three things that are aspects of family law that I find most misunderstood. And the number one would be marriage contract. Everyone's scared of marriage contracts, cohabitation agreements. And it's this idea that, perhaps there's a lack of trust, or planning or doing a marriage contract or cohabitation agreement somehow suggests that the relationship wouldn't last. And that is so far from the truth. From our perspective, we say, well, if you could actually have that conversation about a marriage contract and cohabitation agreement, that puts you way ahead of most couples in terms of communications, right? That's couple goals right there. You're able to have such a difficult conversation. And I'm like, think of it as life insurance. How many times, a lot of people have life insurance. I do. I hope to God that I don't die. I'm not hoping no one is trying to claim that anytime soon. And the same applies, with your car. You get car insurance. You don't hope to ever have to use it, but you just do that. It's part of life planning and you move on. So marriage contracts, it's one of those still very misunderstood areas. There's a lot of uptake, but still I think more people need to buy into that. And then the other one would be adultery or infidelity and the role maybe people think that it plays in resolving their issues. For the most part, it has absolutely no bearing. They cheated. It's a moral failing. We get that. But from a legal perspective, there's absolutely no consequences for the most part. And the last one I would want to mention is with regards to support. So, whether it's child support or spousal support, you have people thinking, well, my budget, how much can I can't afford to pay whatever I'm being asked to pay. It says child support of $1,000 a month. And someone would say, well, I can't do that. If I pay child support, then I can't meet my other, expenses. And unfortunately, the guidelines are the guidelines. The law would kind of expect that you would cut down in other areas, figure it out, make it work. But it's not a response that you cannot meet your other bills. And except in very, very rare cases where there's undue hardship, but that's extremely rare. So I said I was going to do only three, and that's the three.
You know what? That's really interesting that you said that about you compared it to life insurance. That's like a perfect thing to compare it to because yes, it does come up all the time. And yeah, you're not hoping to die because you get life insurance. So that's a perfect comparison. I like that one. What are the top three things people should have in place when entering into a marriage or a long-term relationship, legally speaking?
Yeah, so for me, it'll still be marriage contracts. So that's my top three. And for those that are not getting married right away, then it would be a cohabitation agreement for them. And the good news is once you do that cohabitation agreement and you eventually get married, then it becomes a marriage contract because hey, no one wants to necessarily do this twice. So, don't feel like, well, I'm moving in now and when we're getting married, I'll do the marriage contract just to keep things efficient. No, it doesn't. It's automatic. You do a cohabitation agreement, you get married, it becomes your marriage contract. And so that's taken care of. So I think that's for most people entering into a long-term relationship or marriage, that's the top three things I would ask them to do. And at the very least, you wanted to address, how property, and I'll just say, three things that I think outlined for it to address at a minimum. So how would property be divided in the event of a breakup? Are there properties that you wish to exclude? Or do you want to just exclude all of your properties? Or even just saying, well, you know what? We want the law as is to apply to us. And that's fine, but you just want to make sure, again, it's about being intentional, right? So you want to address how property gets divided because the amount of times people get surprised at what the law actually is in the event of a separation is shocking. People are not the intended, what they expected and their intention is certainly not what the law is. So deal with how you want property divided. Look at spousal support. Do you want to be responsible for spousal support for the other party? Have those conversations. What if you have children, and one party decides to stay home and take care of the kids? What would support look like? Again, if you're the person receiving support, you don't want to be stuck in a situation where you have nothing. So it's not all about excluding things. It's just about having that conversation. And the last thing that at the very least you should address, if this is a second relationship, or if there's children from a prior relationship, well, what kind of obligation do you want? If you're not the biological parent, do you want to make sure you have, a relationship with the child and support that financial obligation? If you don't want to have a legal obligation to financially support the child, then that's something that you want your marriage contract or cohabitation agreement to address. And again, the idea is just be intentional so that, you know what you're getting into, and then forget about it and then live happily ever after.
Yes, makes a lot of sense. So is it called marriage contract now? No one calls it prenup anymore?
No, and it's really that's more of a U.S. term. And people would say things like prenup, postnup. In Ontario, it's just marriage contract. And I'm glad you raised that, actually, because with a marriage contract or a cohabitation agreement, for those that aren't getting married, you can enter it into it at any point in time. So long as you're not going through a separation, if things are great, at any point in your relationship, you can choose to get this contract in place.
Okay, well, thank you for that clarification. As a 10-year Top Choice Award winner, clearly you're doing something right. What do you think sets AP lawyers apart when it comes to working with families in transition?
Yeah, first off, we are so excited. 10 years. It feels like yesterday when we were nominated for the first time and we were jumping up and down our seats, and just to have that consistent validation every year, it's been absolutely amazing. And, to look at the surveys that we get after and just see what clients are saying. And we actually take some of clients leave comments about things that need to be improved on. So that's probably one thing that helps us a lot. Like this year, I think we had about 5 takeaways of things that we're going to work on over the next year to make sure that, come Top Choice time next year, we've improved even more, and now we can ensure that we get those votes. But honestly, Claudia, it just really comes down to our mission of making family lives better. And it just really goes beyond just the letter of the law, but being creative to make sure that we can help our clients achieve what they're trying to, achieve. For people with children, making sure that best interest of the children is always in the forefront. And it would be expanded to just, services, making our services more accessible and as seamless as possible, trying to avoid conflict where we can cooperate, but at the same time, making sure that we are fierce advocates for our clients when that's needed. And so it's just those values that we've just identified that represent us very early, to our compassion, convenience, speed of service, respecting our clients, and being relentless in pursuing their interests, just innovative in the way we provide our services to them. So those core values are just what, we used to see ourselves as a family helping other families through a very difficult transition.
I think we touched up on this already a little bit, but maybe you want to add to it. How important is a parenting plan, and what are key things that should be included in one?
I think parenting plans are very important to minimize conflict. And I know sometimes people would say, well, we're fine and we can figure it out. But, it's at the bare minimum, just have, the basics of who would be responsible for making major decisions. And these are just decisions around, education, health, religion, and major extracurricular activities. You want to include things like, if there's a parenting schedule, well, when does it start and when does it end? Where would you be picking up the children from? And then what happens over the holidays? Because there's a lot of conflict around holiday parenting time, even for the most amicable of families, right? So have a parenting plan, and at the very least, just have the decision-making responsibilities clear. Have it clear that, what the scheduling would be like, what holiday parenting would look like. And then if you want more details, then you can look at things like what happens if one parent is unable to care for the child. Does the other parent step in? Do the children, would parenting exchanges still happen if a child is sick? School field trips, parent-teacher meetings. You can get really detailed, depending on the level of conflict. We always say the less amicable people are, the more detail that's necessary. But at least having a bare bones plan, even for the most amicable, is very helpful.
I know we're talking about human children, but what happens with pets?
Yes. So it's interesting because in Ontario, the law still views pets as property. So it's, kind of not the way a lot of people view their pets, And so, yes, but what I find is if you're in the litigation context, a judge in Ontario is not likely to deal with parenting, or schedule for the pets, for example. But I find that with a lot of the separation agreements we're doing, without involving the courts, it's been fantastic. We're able to create those schedules. And it makes a lot of sense because maybe when a relationship ends, one person might even be going into a rental where they might not be able to have that opportunity to have the pet. And so if the pet is staying with an ex, then that schedule becomes important, right? Like when do they get to share that time with the pet? And of course, there's also the financial responsibility as well. How does that get taken care of? So that's a great question.
Yeah, I think people forget about that, the animals. Come on, they're important. What would you say to someone putting off getting legal advice for a family matter?
I would say, man, that it's the single most important thing you can do for yourself. You're doing for you, this might be, the one or second divorce that you're going through in your lifetime. Lawyers were dealing with this with hundreds, thousands, if not thousands of cases that we deal with, right? So just get legal advice. You don't know what you don't know. And you might think there's the great resources online. Absolutely. Do your research, start off there. But your situation is different. Your goals and your interests are different. So talk to a lawyer. It's the most important thing you can do. And you would be surprised how much people miss. Like people get caught up in thinking about the costs of getting legal advice. And they don't realize, like sometimes they divide their assets and their deductions, for example, they could have taken that could have saved them tens of thousands of dollars. So you don't have to, when you're thinking legal services and legal advice, you don't think full legal representation. You don't have to have an entire team of lawyers representing you all the time. You could just get that independent legal advice to just get a snapshot, get a high level idea of what your case is about and what your rights and obligations would look like. So it's the single most important thing you could do for yourself.
Yes, you got to protect yourself.
You do. And it can fall down to you don't know what you don't know, Claudia. So talk to someone.
I love that.
Yeah. Even if it's for an hour, 30 minutes, whatever, just to get that legal advice, even if it's just a one-time thing. But don't settle your matter without getting legal advice. Don't do it.
I agree. Well, thank you so much and congrats once again. It's so lovely to see you. What would you like to say to your top choice award voters?
I think I can't say thank you enough. I really can't. It's been an incredible ride. The love that we've been shown by everyone that votes for us. And it's just ranged from, clients we've had from, 10, 11 years ago to people that are just consulting with us for the first time. We're just so grateful for you taking the time to vote for us, for you taking the time to give us feedback, especially those that are giving us feedback on things that we can do to serve you better. So I wish there was a better word than thank you, but sincerely from the bottom of our hearts, from me and the entire team, we are so grateful. Thank you.
Amazing. Well, this has been another episode of Social Questions.